My name is Rachel Morgan, and 6 years ago, my life shattered into pieces the day I found my sister in the arms of my fiancé. Derek Langford, the man I thought I would marry, had been mine, until Sabrina decided he shouldn't be. I left everything behind. My city, my family, my dreams of a future I'd spent years building. And for 6 long years I didn't look back. Until today. I stood quietly in the front row at my mother's funeral, watching the door, bracing for their entrance. I wasn't sure how I'd feel seeing them again. The sister who betrayed me, and the man who let her. But when they finally walked in, smug and flawless as ever, I didn't flinch. Because they had no idea who was waiting by my side. And the moment Sabrina saw him, her face went pale. That's where this story begins. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories. And stick around, there's a surprise waiting at the end of this video that you won't want to miss. Drop a comment and let me know where in the world you're watching from, and what time it is in your area right now. I love seeing how far these stories reach. I met Derek Langford on a warm September evening at a charity auction hosted by one of my clients in Manhattan. I had just finished giving a short speech about brand storytelling and nonprofit campaigns when he walked up to me with a glass of wine and a confident, boyish smile. "I didn't know marketing could sound like poetry," he said. I laughed, caught off guard, not by the compliment but by the way he looked at me. Not like a man making a move, but like someone genuinely interested in what I had to say. Derek was already a rising name in tech circles. His software firm had just landed a Series B investment, and Forbes had included him in a 30 under 30 feature a year prior. But he didn't act like a tech bro. He was charming, thoughtful, and listened like he had nowhere else to be. Our first date was dinner at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city skyline. We talked about everything: books, business, our childhoods. I told him about my family back in Connecticut. My mother Barbara, a retired teacher with a quiet strength, and my younger sister Sabrina, always the golden child, charismatic, spontaneous, the kind of girl people noticed when she entered a room. He talked about growing up in Oregon, being raised by a single mom, and teaching himself to code on a second-hand laptop. There was a humility in his success that I found magnetic. We were two ambitious people who had built our lives from the ground up. Felt like fate. Within months we became inseparable. Derek sent flowers to my office every Friday. He remembered the exact way I liked my coffee and bought a French press just for my visits. We took weekend trips to Napa and Cape Cod. And when I got promoted to marketing director, he planned a surprise celebration dinner at the River Cafe under the Brooklyn Bridge. When he proposed on a private boat in the Hudson, the skyline glittering behind us and a 5-carat diamond sparkling in his hand, I said yes before he could even finish the sentence. My mother was over the moon. She adored Derek. "He has kind eyes," she said one afternoon while we flipped through wedding magazines, "and a calm that balances your fire." I didn't disagree. Derek grounded me. He wasn't just my partner, he was my peace. I asked Sabrina to be my maid of honor. We hadn't always had the smoothest relationship. Growing up, there had always been a quiet competition between us. I was the overachiever, the planner. She was the free spirit, the heartbreaker. But I wanted to believe adulthood had matured us. That blood mattered more than pride. That she was truly happy for me. At the engagement dinner, I noticed the way Sabrina leaned a little too close when she talked to Derek. How she laughed a little too loud at his jokes. My mother caught it too. Later that evening, as we were cleaning up, she gently said, "Sabrina's a little enthusiastic, don't you think?" I brushed it off. "That's just her being her. She's always wanted what you had, Rachel. Just be careful." I should have listened. But I was in love. Blind, foolish love. And nothing about Derek ever felt dangerous. We moved in together a few months later. A loft in Soho with exposed brick and high ceilings. Exactly the kind of place I had once scribbled about in old vision boards. I decorated it with intention. My favorite prints framed on the wall. Cookbooks stacked on the counter. His and hers mugs. Felt like the start of a real life. Wedding planning became my full-time obsession. I designed custom invitations, met with florists, auditioned string quartets. Derek was involved too, or so I thought. He seemed excited. He'd say things like, "Whatever makes you happy, babe. And as long as I get to marry you, the rest doesn't matter." But I started to notice small shifts. He was glued to his phone more often. Late nights at the office became common. He was irritable, distracted. Sometimes I'd wake up at 2 a.m. and find him working in the living room, whispering on the phone with some investor from London. He said I was being paranoid. I tried harder, booked couples massages, made his favorite meals, wore the dress he loved on our first date. But something was changing. He wasn't fully with me anymore, and I didn't understand why. I remember one Sunday, while finalizing seating charts with my mom and Sabrina, he came up behind me and kissed my head. Sabrina watched with a look I couldn't name. Not jealousy, something more complicated. Satisfaction, maybe. It's strange looking back now. The signs were all there. The glances, the excuses, the tension. But when you're in love, you don't look for cracks. You keep painting over them, hoping the surface will hold. The weekend before our cake tasting, Derek texted me, "Can Sabrina come with you instead? I've got a sudden meeting." It was odd, she knew his cake preferences better than I did. But I agreed. I didn't want to fight. Not over something so small. That's how it starts, though. Not with explosions, but with compromises. With giving the benefit of the doubt. With silence. It wasn't until I found her sapphire earring in his car that I allowed the truth to take root. The truth that would eventually tear everything apart. At first, I convinced myself it was an accident. A stray earring, that's all it was. Sabrina must have dropped it when Derek gave her a ride. She did mention her car was in the shop. Maybe she'd leaned over the seat or adjusted her scarf. Maybe it had fallen unnoticed like a loose coin or a hairpin. Right? Except it wasn't just any earring. It was the sapphire drop, the ones our grandmother gave Sabrina on her 25th birthday. She wore them to my engagement party. They were unmistakable, elegant, and sentimental. A piece of family legacy. And now one of them was hidden in Derek's passenger seat. I stood in the driveway that afternoon, holding it between my fingers, the sun glinting off the stone as if daring me to look away. The blood in my ears roared. My throat felt too tight to swallow. I walked inside. Derek was at the kitchen island, typing something on his laptop with surgical focus. I placed the earring gently beside his coffee mug. He looked up, then down. A heartbeat. Then two. "Oh," he said casually. "Sabrina must have dropped that when I gave her a lift to the florist last week." He said it so easily, with such practiced calm, that for a moment I doubted myself. "You never mentioned you drove her." He shrugged. "Wasn't important. She needed help. I had time between meetings." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But something in his eyes had changed. The same warmth that once made me feel safe now felt strategic. I called Sabrina later that evening. "Oh my God, I've been looking everywhere for that earring," she exclaimed. "Thank goodness Derek found it. He saved me a fortune in replacements." Her story matched his down to the florist, the timing, even the tone. Too perfectly matched. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I was imagining it all. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe wedding stress was warping my perspective. But the doubts started to grow roots. They crept into everything. Derek's scent when he came home. A floral perfume I didn't wear. The way he flinched when I reached for his phone. His sudden interest in Sabrina's job search, her photography business, her opinions on dinner venues and color palettes. She was everywhere. In every plan. In every conversation. I started seeing a therapist without telling anyone. Not even my mom. I needed clarity. Someone to help me untangle what was real and what was fear. She asked gentle but cutting questions. "What makes you feel unsafe? Are you trusting your gut? Or silencing it to keep the peace?" 3 weeks before the wedding, Derek sat me down. "I think we should postpone," he said, avoiding my eyes. "Just for a while. I'm worried about you. You're not yourself lately." I felt like someone had pulled the floor out from under me. I begged him to talk to me, to tell me what was wrong, what I had done, how I could fix it. He held me, said nothing was wrong, but the hollowness in his voice told me otherwise. That night I woke up around 3 a.m. His side of the bed was empty. From the hallway I heard a faint voice. His from the guest room. "Not now. She'll hear us." I know. Soon. I promise." I pressed my palm to my mouth to keep from crying out loud. The next morning I decided to surprise him at work. It was a last-ditch effort. I picked up his favorite sandwich from the deli near my office, even got an extra pickle the way he liked. His secretary, Margot, looked up when I arrived. She smiled, then faltered. "Rachel, we weren't expecting you." "That's okay," I said, holding up the lunch bag. "Just thought I'd drop this off." She stood quickly, blocking the hallway. "He's in a meeting." He specifically asked not to be disturbed. Something about her voice, too careful, too rehearsed, shattered the last layer of denial I'd been clinging to. "Is he alone?" I asked. She didn't answer. Didn't have to. I stepped around her and opened his office door. They didn't hear me enter. Derek was leaning against his desk. Sabrina was standing between his knees, her arms around his neck. Their lips moved together like magnets, slow, practiced, familiar. I had enough time to register her black skirt, his loosened tie, the intimacy of their bodies, before the door clicked shut behind me. They froze. "Rachel," Derek said, trying to sound surprised. "This isn't." "Don't." I cut him off. Sabrina didn't deny it. She simply tilted her chin and said, "We didn't plan this. It just happened." "How long?" "Rachel, let's talk." "How long?" She looked me straight in the eyes. "Since the engagement party. That was nearly 4 months ago. For months of sleeping beside a man who was lying to me. For months of pouring myself into a wedding that was already a farce. For months of letting my sister help plan the day she was secretly trying to ruin. I don't remember walking out. I just remember the elevator, the metal walls reflecting my pale face, and the ache in my chest so deep it felt like drowning. I curled up on my bathroom floor that night and called my mother. I couldn't get the words out at first. Just sobs. Gasps. The sound of something breaking inside me. She came. She and my father both. They held me like I was a child again, as if their arms could undo the betrayal. My father said he'd kill Derek. My mother whispered, "You didn't deserve this. None of this." In the days that followed, I canceled everything: the venue, the vendors, the dress. I returned the ring by courier. I deleted the photos. But no matter how much I tried to scrub away the evidence of what we were, one truth remained. They had made their choice. And now I had to make mine. In the weeks that followed, I moved like a ghost through my own life. People said all the expected things. "You dodged a bullet. You're better off. They'll get what's coming." But none of it helped. I didn't want revenge. I wanted my old life back. The one that made sense. The one where I hadn't been humiliated by the two people I loved most. I stopped answering calls from friends. I avoided going to the office. Even the thought of walking past the coffee shop where Derek used to wait for me every Friday made my stomach twist. I couldn't breathe in that city anymore. Not with all the memories clinging to the buildings like soot. My mother stayed close those first few weeks. She cooked. She cleaned. She sat beside me in silence, sometimes holding my hand without needing to say anything. My father was angrier than I'd ever seen him. He called Derek a snake. Called Sabrina worse. For once, he didn't try to fix things. He just stood in the rubble with me. And yet, as devastated as I was, something inside me flickered the night I saw my reflection. It was 2 a.m., and I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror on the way to the kitchen. I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Eyes hollow, cheekbones sharper, shoulders curled inward like someone waiting to be struck again. That was the night I knew I had to leave. Not just Derek. Not just Sabrina. Everything. New York had become a graveyard of what could have been. Every corner store, every train line, every rooftop view now carried the weight of betrayal. If I stayed, I would become a monument to pain. I couldn't let them do that to me. I remembered a conversation I'd once had with a senior executive at a marketing conference in Chicago. She'd said, "If you ever get tired of the noise in New York, call me. We always need good people." So I did. I sent an email. Attached my portfolio. Didn't explain why I was suddenly available. I didn't need pity. I just needed an exit. 2 weeks later, I had a formal offer. Marketing director. Competitive salary. Relocation assistance. Felt like a lifeline. My mother helped me pack. We folded up pieces of a life I no longer wanted. Wedding gifts never unwrapped. Framed engagement photos I smashed without regret. Dresses I wore to galas that now felt like someone else's memories. In the back of a drawer, I found a list I'd written months ago. Things to put in the wedding vows. I didn't read it. I just tore it in half. When it came time to say goodbye, my mother stood at the curb beside the moving truck and whispered, "Don't let this define you." I nodded but couldn't speak. If I did, I would break again. My father hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might crack. "You show them, kiddo," he said gruffly. "Build something so beautiful they choke on the loss." I drove away with the windows down, the air crisp against my face. Chicago welcomed me like a stranger in a quiet town. I knew no one. I had no rhythm, no favorite diner, no shortcuts home. But for the first time in months, the silence felt clean. My apartment was small, just a studio with an exposed brick wall and an old clawfoot tub. But it was mine. No shared toothbrush. No framed picture of us on the nightstand. No ghostly scent of another woman clinging to the furniture. I filled the place with books, candles, and the scent of fresh linen. I ordered takeout and let myself eat in bed. I bought a new set of sheets, soft light blue, and burned the old ones. Work became my anchor. The team was welcoming, professional, and refreshingly unaware of my past. No one whispered. No one looked at me with pity. I was just Rachel Morgan, the new hire from New York with killer ideas and a relentless work ethic. For the first time, I wasn't someone's fiancé. I wasn't a sister scorned. I was just me. Still, nights were the hardest. I'd lie awake, wondering how Sabrina slept beside Derek, knowing what they had done. I thought about what kind of person I had been to inspire that kind of betrayal. Had I been too blind? Too trusting? Had I missed something obvious? Was there something in me that had made it easy to leave? My therapist in Chicago, a quiet woman named Dr. Morales, helped me understand that those questions would never heal me. "You didn't cause their betrayal," she said during one of our first sessions. "You only gave them the opportunity to show you who they really were." That stuck with me. I wasn't broken. I was informed. 6 months into my new life, I finally felt like I could breathe again. I walked along Lake Michigan on Sundays. I went to farmers markets. I attended art gallery events solo, sipping white wine while admiring paintings no one else seemed to notice. One afternoon, I stumbled upon a small bookshop nestled between a florist and a used vinyl store. I spent 2 hours inside and walked out with a memoir, a poetry collection, and the faintest sense that maybe joy could return, one page at a time. I wasn't healed, but I was healing. And then one rainy Tuesday evening, everything shifted again, quietly, unexpectedly, over a dinner table in San Francisco. But that's for next time.